So yeah, and that may sound crazy. Honestly, the guy that wholesaled me this deal probably spent less than a full day's effort doing it and made $30,000. But the key was, he was making me a ton of money. And when people make me a ton of money, I'm willing to reward that behavior because I want them to keep making me money. So, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about why I paid a wholesaler $30,000 to simply hand over to me a piece of paper for the rights to buy a property. Sounds crazy, right? But the key was, he found a way to make a win-win-win. But before we get into me talking about my experiences wholesaling real estate and buying from wholesalers, smash that like button if you want me to do more wholesaling real estate videos. So if I see the like spike on this video, I'll keep giving you more real life examples and start giving you more tactical ways that you can get into wholesaling real estate. Because honestly, I'm doing this for you guys, so yeah, it'd be really awesome if you shared the love back with me. Alright, let's get into it. Hey guys, Matt McKeever here, and so today I figured let's do a video on real life examples I've seen or experienced related to wholesaling real estate. My how to wholesale real estate video is by far my most popular video, so I figured why not double down on that success and give you guys some real life examples of what wholesaling real estate deals look like. So you probably clicked this video because of that super clickbaity title. It is true, but it does take some upfront time and effort to set up the sort of systems where you're going to be able to start executing on these wholesale deals. Let's jump into some real life examples I've seen. So the thing about wholesaling real estate is, often once the deal starts to come together, it happens really fast. But not every deal is going to end in a successful close, and not every deal is going to end with you getting your wholesale fee if you're the wholesaler. And so I think that's really important to understand, that this business is filled with peaks and valleys. I mean, it's just peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. It really can get to you, so you need to not be emotional. And it's really important that you not count your chickens until your eggs are hatched, because lots of people get caught up and start getting emotional and start thinking about that $5,000, $10,000, or even $30,000 wholesale fee they could make. And then what happens is the deal falls apart. They're heartbroken and they say, screw this, and they quit after one failed deal. If you're going to quit after one failed deal, you may as well not even start, because odds are your first deal is going to fail. It's honestly as simple as that. There's no way you're going to start a wholesaling business or start wholesaling real estate and have every single deal end in a successful execution and a huge wholesale fee for you. It just doesn't happen in real life that way. I know that's not a satisfying answer, but it's the truth. But anyways, let's dive into some real life examples. So the first type of wholesale deal I want to talk to you guys about, this is going to be the one that a lot of people aren't going to understand why a person even does this. A lot of people aren't going to see the value in doing this, but trust me, there's a ton of value if you can be this type of person, if you can play the long game. So the first type of wholesale deal I frequently see, and I frequently do myself, is the $0 fee, $0 compensation wholesale fee. So why would a person be willing to get zero compensation and spend all the time, effort, and energy it takes to put together a wholesale deal? They're probably thinking long term, and so they're thinking about the relationship versus the transaction. So a lot of people, when they get into personal finances, when they get into side hustles, grinding, making money, and earning more money than they've done in the past, and it's true with real estate, it's true with any sort of business though, at first, a lot of people really focus on the transaction versus the relationship. And real estate is really a relationship business. If you find a smart real estate investor, they're in it for the long haul. They're going to be here for 20 years, and developing a good, strong relationship with them is so important. So for example, recently on a wholesale deal, myself and Jeff Weibel, my real estate agent and good friend, we got a property under contract for a much larger investor than ourselves. I mean, this guy's on a magnitude that's not even comparable to the level we're at. We were lucky to even get the introduction to get the breakfast meeting with him. But during that breakfast meeting, he showed us a neighborhood that he wanted us to buy properties on his behalf for. And he wanted to buy these properties so his employees had somewhere to live. And so honestly, there's a couple ways we could approach this. We got the property under contract for $150,000. And so what someone that was focused on the transaction would do here, they'd probably try and resell it to him for somewhere between $155 to $165, because that's probably closer to what the market value of this deal actually was. Instead, we offered it to him at $150, and so the reason we're doing that is this guy's a whale. This guy's huge. Even just being on his radar is a massive opportunity for myself and Jeff Weibel. And so we saw that, and we were thinking long term. We were thinking about the relationship versus the transaction. You know, would this guy balk at paying us $5,000 or $10,000? No, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if we gave it to him at the price we got under contract for, he would see that we were way more relationship oriented, that we valued his relationship more than that wholesale fee. And that's a very big thing to consider in my opinion, particularly when you're starting out in real estate. It's not that much different than, say, working for free, right? I've talked about before on my channel that working for free is one of the best ways to get value from someone that's probably on a different level than yourself. They're going to see the hard work, they're going to see the hustle, and they're going to want to bring you into their circle because they're going to see aspects of themselves in you. I know I do this all the time, offer to work for free, and I have people offer to work for free for me all the time too. And it doesn't always work out great, this relationship, but it really does show someone that you're serious, that you're willing to put in the work, and that you're willing to wait long term, that this isn't a short term play for you. Another type of wholesale deal I do frequently where I collect zero in commission, where I collect zero wholesale fee, it's just for friends in my network, as well as people that are part of the London on Fire community. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a meetup group I hold here in London, Ontario that's all about personal finances, all about financial independence and retire early. And honestly, I just really love the people in my meetup group, and I want to see them succeed. So often when I find a great deal or I get a great deal, I've started negotiating on a great deal, but maybe I don't have the capital or the energy or the resources to dedicate to that specific deal. Maybe I want to take on something bigger. I'll often just hand it over to them and just in the hopes that they think long term as well. And so the thing is about this, you honestly can't approach this sort of relationship versus transaction thinking where you're like, okay, I gave him that one freebie, so now he immediately owes me. No. That's not the way this relationship versus transaction works. You might have to give and give before you start receiving anything. And the thing is, once you start seeing a person's only going to take, then you simply cut them out of your network. You don't badmouth them, you don't throw them under the bus, you simply stop dealing with them. It's honestly that simple from my perspective. So anyways, this is probably the least sexy type of wholesale deal. This is the deal that probably no one watching this video cares about. But honestly, there's huge value in focusing on relationships versus transactions. But okay, let's get into a deal now where you can finally make some money. So with this deal, I'm going to talk about how a property manager earned $500 off of me just based off of one phone call. So in order to tell this story, I need to go back about 6 months, but about 6 months ago, I was negotiating with a private seller. He had a small portfolio of properties he was looking to offload. He's getting really close to foreclosure. He'd already lost a few of his properties to foreclosure. He'd been investing in real estate for 20 years though. It's not like he was brand new to the game and overextended himself. He's found himself in an untenuous situation where he was simply going to need to divest from his investments. So I've been negotiating with him, but often what happens with these private sellers, when they're getting close to losing it to the bank, there comes a moment where they just kind of lose all hope and give up, right? And so that's what this guy did. So I submitted an offer to him on paper for this property for $255,000. And what happened was he just never signed it. He never got back to me and he just ghosted me. It was so frustrating. I was so angry about this, but it is what it is. But during that period of time, I made good friends with this property manager. And this is why I'm always telling you the importance of networking and how property managers, exterminators, and handymen are huge assets if you're trying to find private deals. This property manager found out about 4 months later that the property was being foreclosed upon because the bank contacted her and said, you now have to pay all rents to us because we've foreclosed upon the property. We'll be selling it in the next month. What does this property manager do? She immediately calls me up. She immediately calls me up and says, hey Matt, just want to let you know that property you were trying to buy, it's actually been foreclosed upon now, so dealing with the seller doesn't make sense anymore. It's going to hit the market on this day, and I just wanted to let you know. And so honestly, probably the reason she was giving me the heads up was simply she was hoping to build a relationship with me where I'd keep her on as the property manager so she could keep her job. Smart lady, and she was right. I totally did keep her on. And so she now manages that property for me. But because I was thinking long-term too, and I was thinking relationship, not transaction, even though she didn't ask me for anything, I gave her my standard $500 finder's fee for simply making the phone call and calling me up and saying, hey Matt, it's going to go into foreclosure and I just wanted to let you know. Because what happened there was I was able to go in cash offer because I'd already been through the property. So the day it was listed, and it was listed for $250. So unfortunately I shot this whole video and then for some reason one of my memory cards got corrupted and I lost a bunch of the data, so I'm going to reenact it. Hopefully I come with the same energy level, but if I don't, hopefully you'll forgive me. So another example of a wholesale deal I paid this year was $1,000, and that was for simply MLS data. So to explain this situation, what it was another real estate investor who's in my personal network, he'd found this property. It'd been overlooked on the MLS by myself, Jeff Weibel, and a lot of other people, simply because it'd been entered in so poorly by the real estate agent. So it was put onto the wrong board. It had very poor photos, no information, and the way they had listed it, it was really hard to find. So a lot of the ways I normally approached searching the MLS, it just kind of fell through the cracks. And so I was completely unaware of this deal. He found this deal. He burrs properties as well, so he was capable of executing on this deal, but it was a larger scope than what he was used to. And he just didn't want to go into those unfamiliar, uncharted waters when he was still relatively new to real estate investing. So instead, he called me up and said, "Hey Matt, here's this deal. Are you interested?" And so again, he was focused on relationships, not transactions. So he honestly didn't even ask me anything for this deal. But the moment I walked through, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is exactly the type of property I love to buy. This is the exact type of property I know I can make money off of. So what I offered him was, I offered to give him a $1,000 finder's fee just as a thank you, because I really appreciated him calling me first. And if he came across that situation again, I wanted him to be motivated to come to me again with that type of deal. Secondly, what I did was, because I knew he was interested in getting good at these type of properties and moving on to this sort of investing style, hey, I'll give you unfettered access to all my information. So you can see exactly what I spent on repairs. You can drop by the job site whenever you want and walk through to check in on the progress. And I'll give you updates on the project as we go along on it. And so the idea there was, not only was I giving him monetary value, but I was also trying to give him knowledge and some qualitative value. And that was through teaching him how I do what I do. And so he was more than happy to do this. So anyways, that's another example of a creative wholesale deal where literally all he did was find a property on the MLS, call me up and say, "Hey Matt, have you seen this?" And I said, "No, and I have no idea why I haven't seen it, but I need to see it right away." The moment I saw it, I loved it, and I bought it. And it was pretty much as simple as that. So, another $1,000 wholesale fee I've paid this year was to a tenant of mine. And the reason I paid that tenant a $1,000 wholesale fee was for simply an introduction. And so what did he introduce me to? Well, he had a friend that lived in a property in a neighborhood he knew I regularly invested in, and that friend's landlord was really unresponsive, a bit of a slumlord, and just wasn't taking care of the property. And so when he realized that, he thought, hey, I should tell Matt, because Matt loves buying crappy old houses and fixing them up. And he's right. And so what he did was he got his friend, who was the tenant at the property, to give him the owner's information. And then he passed along the owner's information to me. I called up the owner, I negotiated with the owner, and what ended up happening was I bought that property. And so I ended up paying him $1,000 finder's fee for simply giving me a phone number. He didn't do any of the negotiating, he didn't do any of that. The key was he found an opportunity and I was able to execute on that opportunity. So I was, again, more than happy to pay him $1,000 for that introduction because I knew I was gonna make well over $1,000 on that deal alone, let alone the potential other properties that landlord may own. So again, that's just another example of a really creative approach to wholesaling real estate. You don't always have to get the property under contract and hand it over. There's all sorts of ways to get small finder's fees. But let's jump into a slightly bigger fee now. So in this case, I had a partner lined up to buy a property with me, and we were buying this property for $250,000. It was a fantastic deal in my opinion, but it did have some unusual quirks to it that the average investor might be turned off by. So what ended up happening is we got this deal under contract and we were ready to go on it. It was looking like financing was going to be hard, so we were probably going to have to buy it in cash, but we were prepared to do that. But another investor, another partner of mine, found out about this deal and was like, that's the exact type of deal I want, Matt. I want that deal. So partner one was more than happy to execute on this deal. So I was like, partner two, we're going to have to kind of entice him. And he was like, okay, what do you think it'll take? And so I called up partner number one and said, hey, I know this deal isn't going exactly as planned. I got another partner who would be more than happy to take this deal off our hands. What do you think about $5,000 finder's fee? And he said, yeah, sure. $5,000 for doing nothing but signing over the piece of paper? Why wouldn't he say yes to that? That was a quick $5,000 cash in his pocket. And partner number two was more than happy because he got another investment that perfectly fit his profile of properties. So it was a win-win-win between all three of us. I was still able to get 50% of the deal. My first partner was able to get $5,000 in a finder's fee, and partner number two got another great property. So again, this was just kind of a creative way that you could potentially make money. So in this case, partner number one did have the property under contract, and that's why we felt it fair to pay him a larger amount than a lot of the people that get a $500,000 finder's fee, which was because he'd gone through the whole process of lining up this specific deal. So I really hope you guys are starting to get an idea or an understanding of why I'm showing you all these different examples. It's because no single wholesale deal looks the exact same way. There's no cookie cutter approach. The key here is, the absolute key to becoming successful at wholesale and real estate is being creative and being relationship driven rather than transactional driven. Anyways, let's jump over to the video I shot before my memory card crapped out on me. So before we get into that juicy $30,000 wholesale fee, I just want to kind of explain why I'm giving you real life examples of wholesale fees. And the reason for that is simply that I think a lot of people, when they get into a new business or they get into, say, wholesaling real estate, they assume that a lot of the answers to questions they have are flat no's. And usually if you get a no for an answer, it just means you didn't ask the question right. And so the reason I'm giving you all these real life examples, I want to show you that there's a ton of different ways to make finder's fees, wholesale fees, or whatever type of fee you want to call it in real estate by finding fantastic deals. It honestly really does come down to just finding those fantastic deals. So in summary, so far we've seen someone literally make $500 by just making a phone call, by just telling me about a deal that existed. We've seen someone make $1,000 by showing me a deal that was already on the MLS that I could have found myself had I not accidentally looked over it. We've also shown you how someone can get a property under contract and then sell that to another investor. And in that case, that partner of mine made $5,000. And finally, let's get into the $30,000 wholesale fee. That's the really sexy number, isn't it? So in the example I'm about to show you now, I paid another investor $30,000 in order for him just simply to flip a piece of paper over to me. And so in this case, I simply wanted the deal really bad. He had a lot of other projects on the go, and so he was more than willing to offload a couple of them if he could make a great return. So anyways, I want to break down for you exactly how this deal kind of shaped up. So why would I be willing to pay $30,000 when I knew that this investor had got the property for $30,000 less? Well, let's simply break down the numbers. So as you can see here, he got the property for $300,000 under contract. He was charging me a $30,000 wholesale fee. My expected rental cost, depending on the quality of finishes I wanted to do, was going to be between $50,000 and $100,000, which meant I was going to be all in on the project after paying his $30,000 wholesale fee, $380,000 to $430,000. But my expected ARV on the project was between $425,000 and $550,000, depending on the type of finishes I did. So as you can see, you know, even by the time I was done, even if I paid him that $30,000 wholesale fee, I still had a large margin between what was going to cost me and what it was going to be worth after I was finished the work. So in this case, I probably did about $60,000 in rentals, but got somewhere around that $500,000 ARV value. And the reason I was willing to pay that $30,000 value was, you know, had the original seller told me it was worth $330,000, I would have happily paid the original seller $330,000, but instead, this real estate investor got it under contract for $300,000 by negotiating well. He then tacked on his fee. In this case, he decided his efforts were worth 10% of the deal. And you know what? I didn't care, because at the end of the day, I was still going to have a cash flowing rental property with significant equity that I built through strategic renovations. So yeah, that's a summary of just some of the wholesale deals I've seen and done this year. You know, often I'm the buyer simply because I'm trying to buy more and more real estate and build a larger portfolio. But there's no reason that you as the viewer can't be on the other end of that transaction. There's no reason you can't be wholesaling deals to real estate investors in your own market. It simply comes down to getting creative and finding ways to make those real estate investors money. Because remember, the whole reason someone's going to pay you a wholesale fee is because you're going to make them money. So in this case, had this guy got greedy and instead tried to add $100,000 or maybe $150,000 wholesale fee, even though that would look sexy to him, he could have made a ton of money on paper, I wouldn't have bought it simply because it didn't fit my criteria, simply because I wasn't going to make enough profit. So the key with wholesale deals is you need to find them at a significantly lower value than what their intrinsic value of the deal is. A wholesale deal is really just restricted to the very specific rules in your region as well as your imagination. Honestly, far too many people think that a wholesale deal has to be very cookie cutter, that it's only $1,000 finder's fee, or it's only $500 fee, or it's only 10% of the deal, or it's only 5% of the deal. So a wholesale deal is really just about finding a win-win-win A win between the original owner, between yourself, the wholesaler, and between the final buyer who's going to be the real estate investor. And so it's really just limited to how much money can you make that real estate investor. The more money you make for that real estate investor, the more money they should be willing to share with you, the wholesaler, because you're making them a ton of money. But I also hope you guys remember that you shouldn't always just be focused on making money when wholesaling real estate. Sometimes it's honestly more about the relationship. Sometimes that $1,000 finder's fee or that $5,000 finder's fee isn't as important as an introduction, isn't as important as getting a mentor, isn't as important as whatever your end goal is. So I just really want you to get creative when you're wholesaling real estate, and I'd like you guys to make some money wholesaling real estate. And if you happen to wholesale real estate to me, even better. So, have you ever wholesaled real estate, or have you ever bought real estate from a wholesaler? Have you ever paid someone a finder's fee? I'd love to hear in the comments section. Let's all share our experiences as real estate investors. There's a ton of people watching this video that have never done this before. This is brand new to, and they could really use your help. So I'd love to see you guys jump in the comments, share your experiences, and share your failures too. Like I said, not every single wholesale deal is going to work out for you. There's going to be a ton, and I mean a ton, that are going to fall flat on their face. If you give up after the first try, you might as well never even start in the first place. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you got value from it. Did you get value from it? Tell me in the comment section down below. You know, I'd love to get your feedback. Smash that like button if you got value from this video. And until next time, YouTube wants you to check out the videos down below. And remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money out there for us to all make it. But if you're focused on transactions and not relationships, you're not going to make it for long. Thanks. Bye.